All right, good morning. I said good morning. Okay, good, good. That's, for those that are in the military, that's a preparatory command. And so when somebody gives you a preparatory command, you follow through with that. So we're going to do it one more time. Good morning. Okay, great, great. Hey, I'm Mike Black. I'm the Vice President for Defense at AFC International. It's my pleasure to introduce the topic, 11 o'clock topic today, DoD Cyber Talent Management. I'd also like to say that this is a topic that, if this is of interest to you, we are also going to be doing a DoD, partnering with DoD CIO and the National Defense University to host a DoD Cyber Workforce Summit at the college at NDU back in DC. And that'll be March 20th and 21st. And Mark's team is going to be a big part of that. And I just share that with you. And if that's of interest, put that on your radar in the DC area. Now, this morning's topic is going to be addressed by Mark Gorak. He's an SCS, senior executive in the DoD CIO office. His title is Principal Director, Resources Analysis, and Director, Cyber Academic Engagement Office for the Office of the DoD CIO. Now, prior to entering his civil service, Mark served in the Army for 33 years. Started out as a truck driver, okay, and then rose to the rank of colonel when he came over the officer side. Now, in his current role, he monitors and analyzes congressional activities, legislation, serves as a DoD CIO focal point for planning, programming, budgeting, and execution processes, DoD CIO administration and management, and DoD's digital and cyber workforce policy and development and integration. Now, you'd think that with all of that stuff to do, that he'd be a busy enough person, but he also finds time to be an NCAA soccer ref and be active in youth soccer and basketball in support of his children. And lastly, but certainly not least, he is a part owner of the Green Bay Packers. As you can ask him about that. That's a storied franchise. I had to, I know Mark, but I did not know that about Mark, and I had to ask him about that. But a storied franchise and part owner. So maybe at the end you can tell him how you do that and what that takes. But without further ado, Mark.
All right, so some of you are very familiar in this crowd to me. How many people have heard me talk before on this topic? Just a handful, actually. Okay. We'll see how this goes from the last time I presented this. So I'll just get right into it, but before I do, how many people here are contractors working for the DoD? Okay, how many are civilians working for any of the DoD, okay? And then how many are military members? Very few military, okay, a couple. Okay, for your Dawn military members in the workforce track, I'm doing this again at 2, I think, or 1. When? 2:15. So more of a military crowd up there. But it gives me, so when I talk about the DoD cyber workforce, it includes all of you. Everyone I just mentioned, military, civilians, and contractors, okay? So we'll kind of go through this, and the first thing I want to talk about, though, next slide, DoD CIO. How many people are here in a CIO shop? 3. Okay. I'll submit to you that the DoD CIO is like no other CIO shop. So I just listed a couple of our missions up here. How many CIOs deal with Spectrum? Yeah, I didn't think so. How many people own a personnel system in their CIO shops? Yeah, we do. So some of the topics, everybody's familiar with Zero Trust. We also do software modernization, cyber architecture, 5G, those are some common topics. C3, command control. The one I'm going to focus on is kind of more my area, though. It's in the lower left corner. It's the Cyber Workforce Functional Community Manager. That's one of my titles. You'll learn through this brief. I have several. That's one of them. So kind of give you the overview of the DoD CIO. Very extensive, large organization of 130 people, okay? And we have all of this responsibility. We just put out the Fulcrum strategy for the DoD CIO. How many people have heard about Fulcrum? Great name, almost no one. Great, I love that when we put out a strategy and everybody reads it, it's awesome. 4 lines of effort. The one I will focus on is the 4th line of effort, which I'm responsible for, cultivating a premier digital workforce. And we chose the word digital on purpose, and you'll see more about that later. So that's our Fulcrum strategy, which under each of these LOEs, we have several initiatives. Under each initiative, we have metrics to measure to see how we are along that accomplishment of those metrics. For me, one of my primary metrics, and it's actually in my performance evaluation, is the vacancy rate of the cyber workforce. So my goal for 2025 is to reduce it to under 15% vacancy rate. So we started last year, we were about 19, and I reduced it by more than 2%, you'll see. And I think we'll be under 15 by the end of this year. If you want to know today's actual metrics, this afternoon, Alfredo, are you up? Tomorrow morning, A-Rod, my data guy, will actually brief our live dashboard to you. Those are the live metrics as of Friday. Okay, what is the defense cyber workforce? Who's all in it? How big is it? You know, the left side of this screen, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with my slides. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, the left side of the screen here is our force, just to give you an idea, is about 245,000 people in the cyber workforce for the Department of Defense. Okay, not a trivial amount of people. But we all know in national how many we're short across the United States. Estimates anywhere from 500 to 700,000 people short of this expertise. For us, about 17,000 military and civilian vacancies today. So anybody have 17,000 people to give me? Industry? You're gonna help me out, right? You got some, all right. And here's a key metric, I think. The DoD actually turns over 10,000 cyber professionals per year. So when I look at this across the nation, and to help that 500,000, I look at DoD as a main contributor to producing educated, smart cyber professionals for the nation. So I don't look at it as competition, I look at it as a partnership with industry, with public and private sector, and we're in this together to solve the nation's problems, and I think DoD can absolutely help with that. To break it down for you on the right side of the screen, just our mill and civ, about 175,000, so the delta there to 245 is our contractor workforce. And our civilian that's our authorizations, of which we have about 155,000 on hand. So that's how I get my delta, okay? And then our estimate is contractors. For all you contractors, if you can help me estimate how many people you actually have working for DoD, anybody have a solution for that? We're working on it. We're not there yet, so that's an estimate. I just want to give you this overview as a scale problem, right? We have a huge scale problem in the department. Okay, within my division, I own the Workforce Innovation Division, or Directorate. That's headed by Patrick Johnson. In that, here's our vision and our mission statement. This is what our commitment is to the department of what we're trying to do. You know, drive the development, right? So you'll hear a lot of talk right now about qualifying the workforce, and what does that mean? How do we do that? Just identifying the workforce is huge, right? How many people do I need? How many people do I have? What level of training are they? That's a key metric for us to tell us what our readiness posture is, and I'll talk more about that. I feel my mission is to support the warfighter. So what tools, what authorities, what programs do I have to put in place to make the warfighter successful? That's my job. So I'm looking for feedback. The 3 words I say all the time to my team: we have to be agile, be able to change quickly because cyber is changing quickly. We have to be flexible, add those changes in, take some risks. We've had a shortage of cyber talent for over a decade. What we've been doing hasn't been working. We have to try new things to get after this talent, and that's as a nation as well as a department. What are those new things? I'm willing to try almost anything. So you have a great idea, I'll try to pilot it. Then we'll see if it scales. And then responsive. I'm responsive to you, the warfighters, to you, the operators. If I have a work role and you don't think the KSATs are right, let me know and I'll change them. I can change them every 90 days. And I do. So part of the problem then is how do you all keep up? So I'm trying to balance that. But right now, I'd rather keep up with the enemy and the demands of the warfighter and then have the training bases and educational platforms catch up. That's my approach I'm taking. If that's wrong, let me know. And let me know how we can change curriculums faster. So we put out a strategy now almost 2 years ago. We had these 4 goals, and we had these 4 pillars. These 4 pillars have actually not changed in a decade. Identification, recruitment, development, and retention. If you look at any HR strategy, you'll probably find similar 4 pillars in there. The difference here is in our implementation plan, I have 38 initiatives, and I'll talk more about this. I did not turn off one initiative or one good idea. I am tired of leaders saying, oh, we've tried that, let's not do that, or I don't think that'll work, so let's not try it. I said, I'll try everything, but I'm gonna measure it based on those 4 pillars. If it's not helping me with recruitment, if it's not helping me with retention or development, I'm gonna kill it. So I'm actually measuring what we're doing and tracking this, and if it doesn't help, I'm going to kill it and try something else because it's not working, okay? So that's what we're after, and I'll cover more about what we've accomplished and what we're heading out to do this year. So here's what last year, FY24 was the first year we actually had the full implementation plan. We set out to do 9 objectives. Here are some of the high level, those 9 objectives all achieved, well, we set up to do 10, we only achieved 9. So I'm only batting 90%. My kids tell me that's still an A somewhere, but 90%, 89's a B, but 90, we're good. So some of our achievements, you might think this is crazy, but we beat the OPM average for time to hire across the cyber workforce. Our average for the year was 79 days. By the way, when we started this a year and a half ago, it was about 150. So it's still an achievement. But in my opinion, that's still way too long to hire. So we're gonna get after that even more. We brought down our civilian vacancy rate from over 20% to 16.2, and you just heard my goals to bring it down below 15 for this year. We integrated cyber training scenarios, and we stood up the Office of the Cyber Academic Engagement Office. So Diba Hadi, Dr. Hadi is here in the front row. Raise your hand, Diba. She is my principal director of that office. A lot more forthcoming on what that office is and how we plan to do it. But the NDA required that the DoD CIO, under my leadership and Diba's hard work, that we will be the focal point of all cyber academic engagement for the entire department. That's not a trivial statement to make. I don't even know how many academic engagement offices we have, or programs or policies, right? We know we have about 90 plus, and I'm actually responsible for most of them. So more to follow on that one. But those are some good achievements so far. Okay, for FY25, I have 5 priority goals. The first one, and I believe, the first one is to code the cyber workforce for qualification. So far, we've coded the cyber workforce in all of our personnel systems for what the person is doing, right? You're an exploitation analyst, you're a software developer, you're a data scientist. Here's the requirement, and here's the authorization, and here's the position coded, and then I code the face. That is the high school level of coding. That should be trivial. It was not. We are now moving to the next stage to actually code proficiency levels of requirements and proficiency levels of actual people. That's a continuous coding effort. That is the PhD level of coding. That's where we're going. We're starting with the cybersecurity workforce. By next month, our cybersecurity workforce will be coded. Most of the services are on track, except for one. I won't mention that one. And then we're going to move on to cyber effects, cyber ops, and the rest of them by next year. Okay, this is not a trivial event. The outcome of this, why are we doing this? The outcome of this is directly related to cyber readiness. How do I know I'm ready? How do I know I have a ready trained force? This is how I know. So we're going to get there. I will get to skills-based hiring this year. I've already directed the entire DoD to not hire based on education, certifications, or experience. How are you hiring if you can't use those metrics? So the way the policy reads is you can't hire based solely on those. So you are using that as a proxy. Until we get to skills-based hiring, though, great to have a lot of experience, great to have a lot of certs, great to have a lot of education. Does that mean you can do the job? Question mark. By the way, if you have none of those and you can still do the job, why am I not hiring you? So this is where we're headed. Skills-based hiring is key to success of this program. I will get there. I will have at least a pilot. Success or failure, I don't know. OPM is at the executive level is 100% behind me on this. At the execution level, not so much. So we will get there. The DoD will move out whether the rest of the federal government moves out or not. So that's my promise to this community. Next year at this time, I'm going to tell you about a successful pilot we had for skills-based hiring. Or not. We will do one. Apprenticeship programs. So we promised last year, we put out a memo with a partnership with Department of Labor that the DoD will do apprenticeship programs for cyber. We're kicking off the program. If I can't say that politically. Once we get a appropriations bill, we will kick this program off. It's a new start, so I have to wait. I'm going to do that this year. CES, Cyber Accepted Service. I am fighting very, very hard to increase my authorities for Cyber Accepted Service. I have very good support on the Hill. I have to get a bill and get this through. I think this will happen. I just don't know when. I'm third round with OPM on this. It gives DoD very distinct special privileges. I think we're special. We're the 53% of the cyber workforce of the entire federal government. We're the only ones with direct missions under Title 50 and Title 10 for offensive cyber ops. Therefore, we are special. And I'm trying to use that to give us special authorities here to pay more flexibilities in hiring, et cetera. So I'm working on that. And then with DEBA, I'm trying to stand up this office. Like most things we get from the Hill, they tell us to do a mandate, and they don't give us the resources to actually make that happen. So I'm fighting hard within the department to make that happen. I have DEBA, so she will run with what she has, and we will mature this office and amplify the capabilities of that office. So those are my 5 key initiatives. I'm still continuing the 9 we got to a certain level last year. So, but these 5 are my priorities for this year. Okay, who's familiar with the Defense Cyber Workforce Framework? Who's familiar with it? Okay, some people are not. Amazing to me, but we will get there. We now, by the way, if you heard this brief a month ago, I had 72 work roles. I now have 73. Okay, I am always changing these because I am keeping up with our competitors and with our adversaries. And I'm also being responsive to the warfighter. If you come to me and we need a new work role for a certain reason, or we need to change what we have, I will change it. Okay? This is not a trivial process. I have many IO psychologists, which I didn't even know what that was when I took this job, who work through these and get the knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks required for each of these work roles. And they have to be so much % different from each other to be called a new work role. Otherwise, we just change an existing one to add in the new tasks required. 7 elements to it. When I say cyber, our largest element here is actually IT. 72% of our workforce is IT. Less than 2% of our workforce is cyber ops. And that seems to be the focus of everybody, cyber ops. Very small part of our workforce. Largest part is IT. Enablers, we're re-looking on our entire enabler set. Okay, so look for changes coming out for our enablers. 12% I think it is, no. I have the numbers given to me hot off the press this morning. Software is now almost 8% of our total workforce, and that's one of our newest elements, is software work roles. So great work by R&E and those going with the software. Data and AI is going to be increasing as we prioritize that through the department. So when I say cyber, I'm looking at all of these, okay? It's not just cybersecurity. It's much greater. Cybersecurity is the second largest at 12%. All right, why code? I get this question a lot. Oh, DoD, you put out all these policies, you mandate this for the service, this is a lot of work, why should we do it? Okay? I understand it's a lot of work. I'm hoping as you start to see the data, you realize the benefits of doing this. The end state here is a ready and capable cyber workforce. I need to know where my proficiency levels are, by the individual, by the organization, by the service, by the component. I need to find out my development requirements. What are my training requirements? And then I can budget for those. So I have put out requirements, no longer the days where you come into the government, at least in cyber and the DoD, and be a civilian and never go to training. Those days are gone. You have annual training requirements. In order to keep up with our adversaries, we have to have annual training requirements. We have to keep up. If you don't maintain qualification, you're probably not going to stay in that job. So maintain that level of qualification is key. I need to make sure we have a qualified force. And then how do I measure all this? The analytics are key to me. I am a data scientist. My team does not like that. By the way, one of my work roles is as a data scientist, and I have to maintain qualifications of a data scientist. Okay, so I have to go to training too. It's real fun. I have 3 work roles, by the way. I have to maintain qualification in all of them. I understand the pain. But to me, that's responsibility that I have to maintain my qualifications, and everyone else does too. So the bottom line here is understanding the qualification of the force, the identification of the force, and it all leads directly to readiness, which I think this is an operations key, a 3 element, right? They're the ones responsible, not the 6. The 6 is about policy, oversight, IT focused, but the 3 is about readiness. So I think this is a 3 issue. How do I know that all my forces are trained and ready to fight the enemy, which we're fighting every day? So this is our methodology to that. Okay, 8140, I know everybody's heard those words. I don't like that title because a lot of people, especially if you're new to this, don't know what 8140 is. It's just a policy, right? We have a series, an 8140.1, 2, and 3. It's a DoDD, a DoDI, and a DoDM manual, okay, which gives instruction to the force that you have to do these things. You have to code. It's not an option. Okay, you have to tell me your qualification. It's not an option. Hopefully I've incentivized you enough to see that leads directly to decision making for senior leaders. And I'll show you more on that. And it's all about readiness. We actually brief a live dashboard every quarter to the senior leaders of the department. 3 politicals from PNR, policy and readiness, personnel and readiness rather, DoD CIO, and the principal cyber director, or the undersecretary for cyber policy now. They get this briefing live dashboard every quarter, which is really fun for me to brief because I don't know what the numbers are going to say until I see it, because they change. So it's a great brief. Also gave that same brief the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and I said, I am not briefing the DSD unless I can do it live. And they said, you don't want to do that. I said, I do it every quarter. It's standard operating procedure for us now. Get rid of PowerPoint, let's go to live dashboards. Therefore, if we have questions, we can dig down deep into the data right there on the spot and answer the questions. This is where we have to go. Again, all leading to readiness. Okay, here's the key to qualification. I kind of alluded to this. Notice those words in red there. It says or. It used to say and. How do you determine qualification? So we as a department at our level have determined the foundational demonstrations or requirements, the demonstrations of knowledge, the foundation. We call that the basic level. You then have the intermediate or residential qualifications, and you have the advanced level as well through residential qualifications. So the units, the organizations determine what those are. We're still working through those, I'll be honest. Okay, they haven't all been determined. We're working through those. So how do I determine a qualified force if I have oars between this? How much education do I need? No longer are the days that you can put out a position description and ask for PhDs with 20 years of experience and 35 different certifications. First of all, those people don't exist. Second of all, with our hiring shortfall, 20,000+, you're not going to find 20,000 people that fit that description. So now we're going to ask for specific work roles, and what's required to achieve that work role, those knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks required. This is why skills-based hiring is so important. And then how do we measure this through time? By the way, any hiring managers out there? How are you hiring your cyber workforce today? Okay, I really can't hear you. You do skill-based. We'll talk. I don't know how you're doing that today because OPM won't let me do it. So if you're already doing it, that's great. And by the way, who does this apply to? Does this apply to contractors? I get that question a lot. How many people think this applies to contractors? Yes, it does. But not quite yet. But most of our partner contractors are already adhering to the standard. So we're working through the DFARS process, which is out of my control. It's in acquisitions and sustainment control to update the DFARS. This will be a requirement. Okay, so under your current contract, it's probably not. As you recompete in the future, it probably will be. So get on board. It's going to happen. Does this apply to military? Yes, it does. The whole purpose of this program is to have consistency across the entire force. So if you're doing a work role job, if you're military, if you're civilian, or you're a contractor, I know that you're all set to a same training standard. That's key and important. Also, if you're a COCOM like Cybercom, they have to be assured that whether you come from the Air Force, the Navy, or the Marine Corps, that you have the same level of qualification. So we're trying to standardize that across the force. This is not a trivial effort. This is very difficult to execute. I understand that. But this is the goal we're after. And then residential quals, and then the continuous professional development, 20 hours, you have to get it every year. If you don't get it, you're not qualified. Oh, but I don't have the resources to do that. You have the requirement, now you can fight for the resources. Okay, I've given you the requirement. I've already helped you halfway along the way. Now you have to go through the wonderful PPBE process, which I run for the DoD CIO. I know it very well. You have to run it, and I've given you the requirement. You can go fight for those resources. This is more for you all to see the dates here. So take a picture of this. These are the upcoming dates. You'll have this slide deck available to you. Oh, there you go. Thank you. So key dates are February. February of this year, we're doing cybersecurity. February of next year, it'll be cyber effects, cyber ops, and IT. That'll be huge. Can't wait for that. And then you'll see how the timeline goes here. So within 3 years, we'll have the entire workforce coded. Okay, AI, data, and software to follow. Key dates. Okay, why do this? Why does it matter? Why have all this data and all these metrics and tracking all of this? Here's what we've accomplished so far. We've ingested all the services, authoritative data sources, and your personnel systems. Each service loves to have their own, so we have ingest them all. We do it all digitally. There's no human in the loop here. Okay? When we started this effort 2 years ago, they told us it could not be done. We've achieved it. It's done. All the systems are coded. You have the coding within the systems to be able to do this. Execute that. We then look at it across the board. So we roll it up at the DoD, so I see all the metrics. That's the enterprise aggregation and visualization. Like I said, every quarter I visualize this too. By the way, you'll see it tomorrow in A-Rod's brief, but we have a senior executive dashboard. You want to see what they're seeing? That's what they're seeing. You don't like the numbers? Fix your systems. It's coming from all your systems. So we're working on the coding. It's a never-ending process. Coding is not one and done, especially under qualification. As your people change, as your requirements change, as the mission changes, you have to update your coding. we're constantly updating the work roles. You have to constantly update your coding. What we have left to do, expand the coding to include data, AI, and software. We're already on that path. We have to continue that. And then the qualification is huge. Again, my number one priority for this year is to get that done. You can see the bottom there, why it matters. Readiness, visualization, defending resources is key. I'm giving you a tool that now you can go and defend your resources. How many people here are over 100% strength in their workforce? How many people are less than 90% strength? Almost everybody in here is less than 90%, whether you realize it or not. Look at your on hand and your authorized. Okay? This gives you a tool to actually see that and then go after those resources to improve that. How many retention incentives do we have? How many recruitment incentives do we have? How many more do we need? This is the data set I'm using to help you determine that. Okay. One of our tools to get there is cyber accepted service. Who's heard of cyber accepted service? Okay, most hands. This is our personnel system. When I came to DoD CIO and I was told that you run a personnel system, I said, whoa, why are we running a personnel system? Okay, did not know that IT talent runs personnel, but we do. This is our system, and I'm expanding this. Some of the advantages here, you can read here. Skip the line, right? I don't need USA jobs. I don't need it with CES. So if you're CES, no lines, right? I can direct hire you today. If I have skills-based hiring, I can hire you right there on the spot. You pass the test. By the way, when I say skills-based hiring, I am not talking about an independent checklist of questions that you say, yes, I'm an expert in this, I'm an expert in this, and I'm an expert in this. I'm talking about a cyber range that I put you in based on a certain work role, exploitation analyst, and it's not a pass-fail. It is a series, like 4 to 6 hours long, of you in a range actually fighting the enemy and seeing how you recover. It's actually designed to fail and seeing your soft skills or professional skills of how you handle that. How long did it take you to identify the inject? What solution did you propose? Did it work? If it didn't, how long did you do a next solution to get after the problem? Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I say skills-based hiring. It's not trivial, okay? It's not a question answer. It's in a range. So on the spot hiring, we talk about merit-based promotions. We have the ability, as you work up, you don't have to quit your current job and get promoted into a new one. I can actually promote you within that job. Increased pay potential. I think we're the only pay system that I know of under the GS, if you will, scale, that we have incentives through GS 15, step 12. Most of OPM's incentive scales only go to GS 12, step 12. So we go further. I am trying to get rid of that cap that we're after, though. That's hitting us in high costs like San Diego, like DC. Haven't beat that one yet, but I'm working on it. That's one of my CS expansions. And then enhanced pay for critical work roles. That's targeted local market supplement. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. Okay, here's an example. This is the pay chart. Some people don't like me for putting up a pay chart. This example is Washington, D.C. It's a grade 14, step 1. Step 1 only. Okay, base pay under the general schedule, 142. Base pay under CS is 142 also. However, if you're getting TLMS, that goes up to 167, a 24,000 increase. However, that's just the beginning. Under the general schedule, we can also give 25%. You have the authority to do this today for recruitment, retention, or relocation bonus, 25%. That is on top of TLMS, if you're receiving it. So then I can go to 178. I'm sorry, that's just 178 with the 25%. But if I do it on top of the TLMS, it brings you to 208. In addition, cyber, I have the authority delegated down to the DoD CIO from OPM to go to a 50%, 3 Rs, relocation, retention. So I can bring your pay up to 221. So from 142 with cyber incentives and 3 Rs, I can bring you all the way up to 221. We're getting to pay parity here. That's my goal, is pay parity. Okay? So now, is this for every single person in cyber? Absolutely not. This is where we can go after the quality word, right? How do I get to retain the highest quality? I can use these incentives. You have the power to do this today. So I encourage you all, for your number one cyber person who you cannot afford in your organization to lose, pay them one of the 3 hours today. Encourage your workforce to go into the TLMS work roles. We now have how many TLMS work roles? As of January 1st, we just doubled. How many total? 21. 21 work roles of the 73 get TLMS now. Okay? And I'm fighting every day using the data you give me to increase that, to give you that option. By the way, TLMS is a must-pay bill from the services. You have no choice. If you qualify for TLMS and that work role gets it, you will get it. There's no application process. It's mandated by us. Okay? All right, last plug here is for the summit. We are hosting our first DoD Cyber Workforce Summit, so it'll be strictly focused on the 2 full days. We have General Tim Hawk coming. We have General Paul Stanton coming. I'll be bringing in all the DoD CIOs. So each of the service CIOs, I'll be hosting a panel and asking them how they're progressing along this path for qualification. We'll even have our initial assessment of the cybersecurity workforce qualification. So highly encourage you to attend. It's March 20th and 21st in DC, so at NDU. Great campus there, lots of space, so please come. All right, more information. I highly put this out. You can take a picture of this. You can go to our cyber workforce. We have a public site here, and if you're in DoD with a CAC, we also have a CAC-enabled site to see more data. In there are links to Advana, so you can actually pull up our databases from Advana. We have scholarship information in there. We have all of our program data in there, our exchange programs with industry. All of that is in there, all available to you. I'm sorry, this is the survey, so take the survey. This is the one with all the information. So I got you all to click on that one. That was great. All right, take our survey, but here's the more information here. So we're trying to get better on these websites, so bear with us. If you have a link that doesn't work, just provide that feedback and we'll update. So I now have, oh, there we go. Did he change it? I can't see. Yeah. The summit there is on your left, and then the public exchange is on the right. All right, questions?
Got questions, please come up to the mic here and speak into the mic, raise it.
This
pull it
is
to
your time
mouth.
to ask at the highest levels what we're doing and why we're doing it.
So this is exciting. My name is Teresa Duval. I represent academia.
Great.
I am
you
a
need to get with Deba.
I'm a target-rich environment. I have over 1,500 students at Old Dominion University that are looking for internships, really, in cybersecurity. We are awarded NSA, awards CAE designations to institutions that provide cybersecurity professionals, right?
I am now in charge of that program, by the way.
Oh, it's a great program, and you have to get designated. And we are R for research, cyber defense, CD, and CO, cyber operations. So really this conversation, all I want to tell you is here we are on this side, and I love, because I was active duty, I was a civil servant, I was CES, I was, all of those things that you mentioned, and I loved it. So, and I think what your initiatives are doing for the workforce are noteworthy, achievable, and laudable. I can't say enough about it. So this future that we're looking at has this preponderance of the future. And how do I prepare or get this influx of students that are going to apply on USA Jobs, which is onerous right now to them, to look at the future? And I really don't need the answer now. It's too tough of a question probably to crack that nut right now. But I just want to kind of throw it out there because the number grew like this exponentially in the last 3-4 years. And you're right, cyber operations is a smaller group than cybersecurity. AI is taking on a crazy role. Data analytics is taking on a large role as well. Anyway, thank you for your time. I just throw it out there. I wasn't really looking for an answer. I want to throw this out there to you. Good thing, good problem to have, right?
Yes, so I won't necessarily answer it, but let me comment on it at least. So the vision I have is for DEBA to work with we have 458 schools under our CAE program, Cyber Academic Excellence, Center of Academic Excellence for Cyber, and we have 3 designations, 458 schools. The challenge is, how do I partner up those schools with the needs of the DoD? Right now, today, the way it works is every single school has to work with every single DoD component to try to, provide talent, provide internships, to get research money, to get capability development money. I want this office to be the conduit, right, the facilitator between all of DoD and all of DoD requirements and academia. So now you'll have one shop to go to. The services will have one shop to go to. So the services will ask this office what I need. I need this many people trained with this work role. So the work roles are key, and you're going to see changes to the DCWF for academia, which means as I change a requirement, I'm going to ask you to change your curriculum, not on 2-year cycles, not on 1-year cycles, but on 6-month cycles, on semester cycles. So that's my challenge to you. How do you keep up with our requirement changes? That's going to be a key for academia, but the services will then put in touch with academia who can best, in our opinion, solve those service challenges and deliver that capability to the department. That is my key metric. In order to get money from us or from our CAE program, you have to deliver a capability to the department. That capability could be people, it could be students who are trained and ready, it could be research that you deliver to us, or if you are looking at capability enhancements, what capability enhancements are we doing for you that then helps the department? That's what I'm measuring. So you're going to see changes, but bear in mind you have 2 people in this office and I have 4 other jobs. So we're going to get there. It's not there yet. That's my vision for the CAEO. All right, next question.
Yes, sir. First of all, I wanted to thank you for the great, excellent briefing. Look forward to seeing you and your team out at the summit in March up in D.C. We're really excited about it. Adam, I'm with Offensive Security. I just had one question around, you mentioned a priority is skills-based hiring and operationalizing that this year. I was wondering if you could comment a little bit on some of the challenges you guys have encountered in operationalizing it, and do you have plans in place right now? You mentioned performance-based, how you want to leverage a cyber range, things like that. Have you guys already have an idea in mind on how you're going to go about that? Kind of what's that going to look like this year?
So great question. So I have lots of ideas on that, but the hard part about this in my job is I am not the responsible party here. So I think there are going to be many solutions here. I think each of the services are going to go about this differently. So my idea for a pilot this year is I'm going to pick an element, probably Cybercom, who has a vested interest in there and is small enough population that I can actually make this happen and pilot with them. And then if it works, and my impediments here are many, right? OPM, Title V, if you've ever read Title V, it's a wonderful protection for civil servants. Competitive is very difficult to get around. Unions, another, right? How do I get through that? And just gain the HR culture and community to agree that if I can pass this 4-hour or 6-hour test, that I am qualified to do the job. Because how we do it today, to me, is totally antiquated. Today, I look at a piece of paper, a resume, and I say, based on that resume and based on this position description, I, as an HR guru, who don't understand half the words on this paper, say that this person is qualified to do this job. And this job is changing every 6 to 9 months. It's a broken system, in my opinion. Even if I use technology to wordsmith that resume to see if it matches the words I'm asking for the position, it doesn't mean I can actually do it. I actually don't care what your resume says. I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you have a PhD or no degree. I care if you can do the job. If you can do the job, I say we should hire them. So fighting that HR culture is what I really have to get over. And by the way, I'm open for mistakes here, right? Part of the great thing about cyber accepted service is I have right now I have a 3-year probationary period. If you hire somebody on the spot and they don't work out, I can get rid of them pretty quickly under the federal service. So if they do work out, I want to hire more of them. So if I take 100 from ODU and say, these were great, give me 100 more, that inspires hiring managers to accept that risk. So the other piece of it, how many people are hiring managers in here? Okay, how many hiring managers do you think there are in DoD? Anybody? Throw out a number. More than one. Okay? I estimate over 100,000. Over 100,000. Okay, in my organization of 130, I have like 80 hiring managers because we push it down to the lowest level. If I'm hiring a GS-12, I probably have a GS-13 hiring manager. If I'm hiring a GS-15, those are the ones I even look at, right? So lots and lots of hiring managers out there. They all want that one needle in the haystack, so to speak, poor analogy, but that's what they want. They want it personally hands-on. I want to overcome that barrier. I want to say, hiring manager, you need 30 people. Here's 40. Pick 30 of them. You have no choice. Okay, you have a choice of those 10 you're not going to pick. Right? That's where I need to get to. That's not pool hiring. These are qualified. They pass the cyber range. You will hire. That's where I want to get to. I don't even have the authority to do that, right? I need the services and components to come on and tell me, or tell their hiring managers to do it. So lots of impediments to this. Probably my largest impediment actually is my other federal service partners, specifically OPM. Even though I said at the leadership level, we're all engaged, we say we're going to do this, our ideas of what this is, what skills-based hiring is, are totally different. They're looking at competencies and checklists, and I'm like, no, I'm talking about ranges. The final one I'll mention is not all of our work roles are set up to go through a cyber range, right? How do you measure cyber leadership? Hard to do that through a range. Cyber policy, hard to do that through a range. So we're going to start with the easy ones, the most technical, and throw those to a range. So lots of issues to overcome. My end state is, and I don't know what date that is, that I have a separate range for every one of my 73 work roles. You pass that range, you're minimally qualified, you should be hired. So that will eliminate my bottleneck and my shortage, and I can produce more people that way. So I hope I kind of answered that. Lots of impediments here. I'm going to do it regardless of what my overseers say I can and can't do. I'm going to take some heat on this one, I know, but sir.
Hi, my name is Jason. I represent Transition Careers. We're a small business. We facilitate cyber, tech, security clearance-focused job fairs nationwide. So my question is, can your office help introduce me to the talent acquisition directors for the different services, not necessarily the 100,000 plus hiring managers?
Yeah, so I think we can link that up. So right now, I love you guys actually. What's the word I use? Intermediaries, I think. So I think you're a key to the success of skills-based hiring, because you're going to push me the talent that you say is already qualified, that you've already trained in your specialties, and that's where I'm going to get my talent from, right? One of the sources. So, and there are nonprofits, there are companies, there are lots of who specialize in certain areas. I'll just give you one example of one thing I'm passionate about, and that's the neurodivergent population, right? I'm doing a lot of research on this. It's a pretty large population. Over 80% of them have an advanced degree, okay? About 90-some% of them are unemployed or underemployed, right? I think that's a perfect population, just looking at the data, to do cyber, specifically cyber offensive and cyber defensive, cyber security. However, in our current hiring processes, they normally don't get hired. So because of the way, you know, they're not going to look at you in the eye, they're not going to shake your hand, they have some, that's why they're neurodivergent. By the way, we have some of them on my staff They're a challenge to sometimes deal with, but they can produce. And I hire people who can produce. So that's what I'm after. Not every hiring manager is like that. I get it. But it's also a training thing. But I have a company who actually produces these people and tells me, based on this work role with these case sets, they're trained to do that. And now I can put them, if I have skills-based hiring, put them through a skills-based hiring assessment and hire them. No interview. I didn't say interview. I didn't say resume. I didn't say USA Jobs, right? How do we get past that current mindset of the way we've always done it to the way we should be doing it? And actually getting a true qualified force that can actually do the work today, right? That's what I'm after. So I think you guys are a key element. I am not a good person to link you up with all the services. I can link you up with academia as soon as we get that set up. But where's Justin? Justin, see that guy in the corner right there? And I will link you up with the department's talent management officer who works with you guys.
Excellent. Thank you.
So. Yeah, already hooking up. That's good. Okay, success.
Exactly.
I'm done.
That's a success.
FCO members from Vegas.
That's right. So anyways, John Diedenhoffen, chapter president of AFCEA Las Vegas. And of course in Vegas, we have every year, we have Black Hat USA and DEF CON. So to what extent would you like to engage, or have you thought about engaging? Because these are folks who love the cyber ranges. These people can fight. We can fight. So, I mean, it sounds like it's a ready population for you all to potentially engage for DoD hiring.
So that's the platform I'm going to start with. I'm not going to commit to your specific one, but we have cyber competitions across the United States every day.
Okay.
So at the high school level, at the collegiate level, one of my ideas is national level competitions. Winners I should give an incentive to. So how do I do that? And then also on those cyber ranges, you already produce a technology. One of my challenges is my current cyber ranges that I run are all highly classified. I can't use that same cyber range to hire people. Sorry, can't do it, right? So I need to declassify them. You guys have already done that. You already have that technology. It already exists today. So how do I capitalize on that and pick one of them on an unclassified level that gives me the work role accomplishments to say they're qualified? That's my challenge. So yes, partnering will be great. From DEBA's standpoint, Dr. Hadi here, one of my ideas was, okay, national competitions for cyber ranges, why don't we give the winning team scholarships? We have the power to do it. They've already proven they're qualified, right? They've already proven they have aptitude. Let's throw them through 4 years of school or 2 years of school, whatever the case may be, and then let's hire them. Our scholarship program is scholarship for service. You're guaranteed a DoD job if you get one of our scholarships. If you actually look at our scholarships, I have a high school senior who is looking at scholarships. I have a college sophomore who just got a DoD scholarship, so he will be working for the DoD. So there are programs out there. They're very, very generous in my opinion. I wish I would have known about it when I was in college. Not only pays tuition, pays room and board, gives you a huge stipend, pays for a computer, goes to internship in the summer. We start your clearance there, so when you graduate, you have your clearance, right? I get over all those hurdles, and the organization that hires you to get the scholarship mentors you through those 2 years, and then you work for them. So I'd rather know in that summer internship if you're like the job. So if you don't, tell me now. So when you come, I know if you're going to be a good fit or not. So yes, we have programs available. Thanks.
All right, I'll be really quick. You talked about with skill-based hiring and working with OPM and not really having the authority to say, hey, this is exactly, but how do you see this trickling down to maybe the system integrators, right? The people that are actually doing some of the work. You can kind of have an influence there. How do you see that trickling down to the industry level that's doing the work for DoD?
So great question, right? So depends on how the contract is written, if you're talking about contractors, but my idea is I don't care if you're military, civilian, or a contractor. You want to work for that organization, you're going to go through this range.
Perfect.
Okay? So we get a lot of contractors in. I preview their resumes, and I say based on a resume, and we don't call them interviews, we call them meet and greets. because I technically can't interview the contractors. But I'd rather know up front if you can do the job than have you come on board and then you can't do the job and I have to get rid of you and pick somebody else. This would also be a great assessment tool because it's unclassified, right? For contracts to actually pre-select their people and say, hey, here's the scores they got. Now I run them through mine because mine's always changing. It ain't going to be the same. No two cyber rangers are going to be the same. So if you're working with us on our cyber ranges, they're going to be changing all the time. Okay, as my requirements change, as the mission changes, we're changing the ranges. As we learn about new injects, we're putting them in there. Again, it's designed to fail. You're not going to pass it. You're not going to know everything. But it'll give us the baseline. Are you enough here that you're qualified, and I'll teach you those things you missed. It also gives me your training plan. I know exactly where your weaknesses and your strengths are. I can individualize your training plan and say, okay, before I hire you, I'm sending you to this course for 2 weeks. And you meet my requirement. My idea, though, it applies to contractors also.
Thank you.
All right, obviously, no more questions. I don't know if I'm out of time or not. But hey, thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest in this. At our level, right, we have a lot of great ideas. I'm really pushing hard. I'm fighting for the warfighter, but I can't do it, right? I can't do it all. I promise to you I will be responsive to your needs. If you have, I've heard a lot of complaints in the last 3 years that I've been doing this job, and I've tried to address every one of them. A lot of them are knowledge. You don't know you have this authority. Your HR won't let you do it, right? Or whatever the case may be. I will help you fight through those at a higher level. So I can tell you I work with all of the service CIOs. They all know me by name. So I work with them all. They're all supportive of the cyber workforce. If you look at the new administration, just policy came out last night, cyber, AI, and data are going to be foundation, keys to national security. So please help us help you. Thank you for your time.